In this video, let's see how to set up a Vultr Bare Metal server. That is a dedicated server. Vultr provides dedicated servers as well. So if you come here under pricing, let's see how much it costs for the smaller Bare Metal servers from Vultr. If you come here, you can scroll. Let's go to Bare Metal, and there are Bare Metal with GPUs for people that want to run AI workloads. You can do so using the Bare Metal servers with GPUs. So let's scroll down because I just want the compute. I want the compute ones. And these are the ones you can use for running your workloads. Maybe you have a Python app that needs a lot of resources. Maybe your WordPress website has become huge and you want to host it on a Bare Metal server. You can do so. This is not a virtualized server. This is a Bare Metal dedicated server. So you can look at all the others. If you're new to Vultr, you can test the Bare Metal servers with a free $300 credit from Vultr. I'll put the link in the description, and that is for new accounts only. If you don't have an account, click on the link in the description, create your account. If you're already a customer, come there, log in to your account. There will be a link for login to your account. So let's come back to the dashboard. So the first thing you want to do is to request your limit to be increased, because if your account is new, usually the limitation, I believe, is $100. So if you want to use the Bare Metal servers, come to accounts, under billing, go to limits, and then request for your limit to be increased. And they will ask for certain details. Make sure you're using your domain email, right? Instead of using Gmail, use a custom domain email. Add your details, your name, the purpose of what you're going to use with the server, and request for a limit. You can request, if you're going to run the AI workloads, you need to request maybe up to $2,000, $5,000, depending on what you need. In my case, this is enough for the server that I want to deploy. So let's go to products. You can go to products to deploy from there, or you can just click on the deploy button, which is up here. So I'm going to click on deploy, and down here you can click on deploy new server. So we want Bare Metal. So click there on Bare Metal, and usually certain data centers don't have the specific Bare Metal server that you want to deploy. You can always change it later when you get an error on this end. So let's scroll down, choose your data center right there. I'll choose Chicago in this example. And you can already see that the server that is deployed, that is selected down there, is not available in Chicago, but it also tells you where it's available. So you can select an alternative data center from there. In this case, let's scroll down and see the one that I want is, let's choose Intel. And for the Intel servers, this one, as I said, I saw that I can't deploy a Linux right away. I have to use IPX. I have to use IPXE. And if you don't know how to use it, then just go with the next option. And the next option allows you to choose a Linux OS. If you want Ubuntu, Debian, you'll see the options in a moment. That's why I'm going with the second option. So I've selected that. If I come up here, you'll see that that server that I've selected is not available in the Chicago data center. So let me select an alternative location. I can go with New York. So I'll just select New York. I will stick with this server, 32 GB of RAM, 960 GB storage, and it will be set up in RAID 1 mode. 5 TB bandwidth per month. You can see this can run a very, very big website. If you have an e-commerce website, lots and lots of traffic can run through that. Then let's go and configure. So this one as well, I see that they've removed the capability for you to deploy a Linux OS. So if you want to deploy Linux, you'll have to use IPv6, but I don't want to get into that. So let's just go back and see. Maybe the first one doesn't have Linux. Okay, the first one has Linux. So I don't know, maybe it depends on the location, but just check around. Let's go back for the second one. Sometimes you'll find that this doesn't have Linux, this has Linux. I don't know, maybe it depends on the data center. So let's select a different location. I saw that it was also in Atlanta. It was also in Atlanta. So if I configure, okay, that doesn't have it. Seattle, configure. Okay, you see, it depends on the data center. Okay. So that's something you can also keep in mind, that if you don't find Windows in if you don't find Linux in a specific data center, you can switch it to a different data center. So I'm just going to configure, and I want to go with Ubuntu. I'll go with the latest Ubuntu. When you're running something in production, always use the 22.04, 24.04s. Maybe the next one will be 26.04. That is the LTS version. That will be supported and will be stable for at least 5 years. And if you sign up for Ubuntu Pro, you can use it for another 5 years. So that's 10 years. So I might do another video for how to set it up with an SSH key. In this case, I'm just going to use a password. But in the next video, let's do one where I will generate an SSH key, add it to Vultr, and then attach it to that server. Startup script. If you have a startup script, you can add it and then select it from there. You can add it under your account and then select it from there. And then the next step is to select RAID mode. Do you want RAID? You see that the server comes with 960 GB, and that is 960 GB 2 NVMe disks. If you want it to be set up in RAID, you can go with RAID 1. If you want no RAID, so it's going to be like having 2 disks. It's going to have 2 NVMe disks attached to your server. And then disks will be formatted and mounted for you. If you don't want it mounted and formatted, the extra disk will not be formatted and mounted, and you can do whatever you want with it. In this case, I'm going to go with RAID 1. So just note that if you select no RAID and this other one as well, it's like having that times 2. So that will be the total storage. But it's always a good idea to put your disks in a RAID mode. If one disk gets corrupted, you still have the other one to fall back on. So host name, I'm just going to use this as an example. And then additional features, of course, you want IPv6. If you want to put it, this is one of the reasons why I love the Vultr Bare Metal setup, because you can actually put your Bare Metal servers in a private network. If you're maybe creating a database cluster, you can set up multiple Bare Metals and put them in a VPC network. You can add a limited user. If you want to set up your server with Ansible, you can set up a limited user and you'll use that user as your user with sudo privileges. In this case, that's all I want to do. So my password will be provided to me on the dashboard once I deploy the server. So certain things that are not here are backup. So you'll have to set up backup on your own. Figure out how you can set up backup. You can use something like Restic. You can use Bog. Or you can even do it manually using rsync. Just connect it to another server, another FTP, and figure out how to back up your server, because that's also important. Let's just deploy the server. So the server is charged on an hourly basis. So if you need it for a few hours, you can deploy it, use it, and then destroy the server. So we wait for the server to finish setting up, and then we're going to log in. You're going to log in via SSH. So the first thing, I want to address the Windows users. If you're following along on a Windows computer, I will be using terminal here, but you can go to Google, search for Git, download Git, and then open Git bash. So if you're on Windows, this is for you. Go to Windows, download or install Git, and then open Git bash. And then you'll be able to follow along with me once we log into the server. So I'll just wait for the server to finish installing, and then we'll come back and log in with the details provided on the Vultr dashboard. Finally, after waiting for a while, the server is ready. Click on it. There, you'll find the details for your server. The user, the password is there to log in. We're going to use that. So copy. And then we're just going to do SSH. The user is root. If you changed the user, if you did set up a limited user, you can use that user instead of root. Ctrl+Shift+V to paste the IP. Enter. Accept the fingerprint. Yes. Type yes to accept that. And then let's get the password. Copy the password from there. Ctrl+Shift+V to paste on terminal. Shift insert to paste on Git bash. And then enter. There you go. So I'll clear the screen, Ctrl+L, and I can do host name CTL, enter, and you can see there it is a server, it is not a virtual machine. System, we installed Ubuntu. Hardware, that. So you can see this is not a virtual machine. You can update it. Since it's Ubuntu, you can update it using apt update, apt upgrade -y, enter. While the update is going on, let's see what we have here on the dashboard. So as for the settings for this, what can you do? You can restart the server, you can delete the server, and you can also enter rescue mode. Maybe you forget your password, you forget your root password, or something just happened and you want to do a rescue. You can enter rescue mode. You can also stop the server. You can also log into the server via the console. You can look at your usage, so the bandwidth. Let's look at more setting options. IPv6. If you want to change the reverse DNS, make sure you come there and you edit your reverse DNS. If you're going to use email with this server, IPv6 as well, you can change the reverse DNS. If you connect this to a network, you can look at the network IP there, the private IP there. You can change the host name for the server. This is going to wipe the server, so just do this inside of your server using hostname CTL. And then you can also change the operating system. So if your server supported Linux, you can come in here and you can change the distro you want to use. If you want to use Debian, you can switch to Debian 13, Debian 12, whichever OS you want to use. And then RAID, you can see if you want to change the RAID setup, you'll have to reinstall the operating system to change the RAID. Okay, let's come here, come back to where the server is updating, and always keep the local version of anything that you're updating. Just press enter. What else can we do? User data. If you want to run any user data, you can do so here and update it and then restart the server. And then tags, you can add a tag to the server. Maybe you want to attach it to something else. And I can see that this does not support the firewall, the Hetzner firewall, the Vultr firewall. So make sure you set up a firewall on your server. And you can always get a quick setup for NFTables by going to just search for NFTable. Let's look for samples. And if you go to the official website for NFTables wiki, let's look at examples. Yeah, click there on examples, and you can find simple rule set for a server. Click on rule set for a server, and you can copy this and use it. Add any ports that you want to allow. So that's something you can do, and I'm not going to go into that. If you need a tutorial for that, just let me know, and I will create one with a follow-up video. So let's see if there's anything installed on the server that is accessible. So let's go back to the overview. I want to copy the IP. Visit the IP. Okay, chances are nothing is installed. So maybe you can install apt install Nginx. Yes. And then come back here. Let's look at, let's reload that. Let's check if Nginx is running. Service. Which service? Nginx. What about Nginx? Status. There we go, it's running. So if you come here, this should be able to open unless there's a firewall. Control C, Control L, unless there's a firewall. Let's check if there's a firewall. Let's just check. You never know. Maybe they installed UFW. Okay, UFW is active. UFW is active. So let's look at UFW status. So it's only allowing SSH. We can allow something. UFW allow HTTP. Right. So if you come back here, and instantly you can now access your Nginx. But don't use UFW. Just get used to using NFTables, because that is a firewall. That is where most Linux distros are headed, using NFTables as the firewall, and you'll find most of RHEL-based distros use Firewall D, and Firewall D is already working with NFTables. I just recommend you uninstall UFW and install IP tables if it is there. NFTables is probably already installed. NFT command, yeah. So you can see NFT is already installed. List rule set, yeah, NFTables. So UFW is using NFTables. You can see that there. All right. So this should pretty much cover how to set up your Vultr Bare Metal server. That is the absolute basic way to get started. You just deploy the server, and most importantly, at least they have added UFW for you and enabled it to secure you by default, and that's a good thing. So let's just go back. You can destroy the server. So this is an Intel server with a G. So if you wanted to run something like Chrome, if you want to run Chrome for 24 hours or any browser for 24 hours, this server would be able to do so, because you can see the G at the end means that this has a built-in graphics card. At least the CPU has a built-in graphics card that would be able to work with Chrome if you want to run Chrome for 24 hours. If you want to run it 24 hours, 7 days a week, you can do so with this. Always select, if there are certain things if you want to run, always just check if the CPU has a GPU. If you're going to use a Vultr Bare Metal, let me summarize. First of all, go to Account, under Billing, Limit, request for your limit to be increased. It depends on the size of the server you want to use. If your server is one of those GPU-based bare metal servers, definitely go for maybe $2,000, $5,000 limit. It depends on the server you want to use. If yours are just the CPU bare metal servers, you can go up to whichever limit you want to, and you saw that for me $400 was enough to deploy the second server. So let's just look at the LS CPU for this. If you want to confirm, you can see there it has 12 CPUs, at least 12 logical CPUs, Intel Xeon, and so on. We can also look at the disk, LS block. Let's list the disk, and you can see we have 2 disks, right? But we have 2 disks, SDA and SDB, and you can already tell, that this is in RAID mode because there is RAID and there is RAID. So this is responsible for the RAID settings. If you hadn't set up the RAID, you'd see all your disks are here, and all of them will have the partitions, but they will not be connected by a RAID partition. All right, so this should end this tutorial. If you're new to Vultr, you can get the free $300 credit in the description below. I hope it will help you, because once you add your credit card, you can use the $300 of credit for, I'm not sure, maybe 30 days or 60 days. I'm not sure about that. You'd have to confirm. I'm very sorry about that. I'm not sure about the exact number, but just know that there's a time limit on that. Okay, you can't use it forever, for a year. You can't. You have to know that there's a time limit on the $300 free credit from Vultr. All right, see you next time in another video. If you need a video for the NFTable setup, basic setup, let me know. So I'm just going to destroy this server. Destroy server. And I will only be charged for the hour that I've used it.